So what's up, y'all? So it's been a minute since I hopped on the bike and did a motovlog. So with this nice weather, I feel it's time. Now I want to try to be more consistent with content and videos. I know I do drop reels from time to time, but motovlogging content, I want to produce more of that for y'all. So what we got going on? Today I'm linking up with some friends of ours that we met and started riding with earlier this year. JMac360. He also has a YouTube channel, so y'all be sure to check him out. Linking up with him today, and I know he told me where we're riding, but I can't remember. I'm just happy to be on the bike and riding. So definitely got that going on. Me and the missus, we also got some plans too. You know, we got a pretty busy summer ahead of us. Definitely gonna try to sneak in as many rides as I can. But we're going on a cruise. You know, definitely excited for that because we've never been on a cruise. A 7-dayer to Mexico, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna come back plump. I'm gonna try to lose about 10-15 pounds in preparation for the cruise because I know I'm a big back my way throughout that ship. But after that, you know, we're going on a couple cabin trips, and then we are doing a ride through the to the North Cascades. So definitely looking forward to that too. But no other longer rides planned, so we're gonna have to change that. But yeah, I was talking to a couple folks, a couple friends of mine who were considering getting into riding. Now, it wasn't that long ago that I was, you know, going through the process, figuring out if I wanted to start riding, if I did start riding, what I wanted to ride. And it was a fun journey. You know, I had my wife to help me out. She's had her motorcycle licenses way back when, but she just didn't have a bike until we went out and both got bikes in 2017. But I did my, you know, my YouTube research and looking at all the best beginner bikes. And I ended up getting a Honda Shadow Spirit 750 for my first bike. Now, I love that bike. It was really fun to ride, but I outgrew it real quick. You know, 750 cc's it's more than enough if, you know, you're just doing short in and around town stuff. But if you're trying to hit the highway and put some real miles down, I don't know if it's enough. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there would argue with that and say, yeah, of course it's enough. But if you want to be able to have, you know, enough torque and passing power to get past big trucks comfortably on the interstate, for me, it wasn't enough. So I had that for about a year or so, and then I moved into the sport bike, a naked sports bike arena. I got me a 2016 FZ09, and that bad mamma jamma, that was fun to ride. The Torque Monster, I rode that for about a year and a half, but I found myself wanting to lay into that throttle everywhere I went, especially when it was in, you know, the highest power or throttle mode. I just wanted to lay into it all the time and ride fast. Now, I got 2 young boys, and I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. So I jumped back on a cruiser. I bought the Vulcan Vaquero, the Kawasaki Vulcan Vaquero, and I really enjoyed that thing while I had it. It was a blast to ride. Yeah, a metric bike nonetheless, but it was it was a lot cheaper than Harleys and Indians, comparable touring bikes at the time. And at that point, I just wasn't ready to spend Harley money. I was like, I can ride, I can experience the same feeling on 2 wheels. But I always knew in the back of my mind, I wanted a Harley. So when, you know, the finances and the situation was right, I went out and got this Road Glide. Now, let me tell y'all, I don't want to say cheap, but I like to be careful with my money. So seldom do I buy brand new stuff. Now, when I bought that FZ09, it was a brand new bike, but it was a 2016 brand new 0 miles, but I bought it in 2018. So it was a, what do you call it, overstock, brand new overstock, hadn't been sold. So if you guys are looking for bikes, I would I suggest you do just that. Now, in this day and age, or at the current moment, there's a ton of used bikes on the market. The used market is saturated with bikes. So if you don't want to get a new bike, that's certainly the place to start. Your Facebook Marketplace and other folks who thought they wanted to get into riding, bought the bike, found out it wasn't for them. There's so many of those people out there with low mileage bikes that you guys can grab for a steal. So definitely be on the lookout for those. And then again, like I mentioned with my FZ09, you guys can also peruse some of these dealerships for older, brand new older models that are still on these showroom floors. Some of these dealers are heavily discounting them just to try to move bikes for newer model years. But yeah, y'all, that's my journey into riding. Been riding almost 8 years now, and I'm enjoying every bit of it. Yeah, this is my wind therapy. Whenever I'm having a bad day, you know, hop on the bike, clear your thoughts, wind in your face. I enjoy it. Now, I love test riding different motorcycles. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing too, as well, because when you test ride different bikes, it always makes you want what you don't have. Now, I know this is my bike, my Road Glide. It's more than enough for me, more than I need. But at some point, when I decide to get another bike, I think I'm gonna get a Honda Goldwing or a BMW K1600. Never been on either one of them, but I hear that folks who do ride them, because they're smooth as butter, got all the power you need. Once they hop on those things, they don't go back to anything else. I just love that American V-twin sound, that American V-twin feeling. You know, you cruising through the city, pipes and exhaust note, deep rumble that makes people turn their heads. I love it. But at some point, I don't know, 5-7 years from now, I do plan on getting a Goldwing. I want to get a Goldwing before, you know, my body goes to shit and unable to handle or move around a heavier bike. Goldwing or 1600. Haven't rode either one, but definitely plan on doing it in the future. So some good beginner bikes for folks who are looking to get into riding. Like I mentioned earlier, my Honda Shadow Spirit. That's a decent beginner bike. If you're into sports bikes, there's a handful of decent beginner sports bikes. There's the Ninja 650, not the 636. The 636, that's a lot for a beginner bike. But the 650, yeah, I got it. It's more larger size motor, but the 650 is more oriented for newer riders. Suzuki, they also have I want to say it's a GSX 800 or GSXR 800. It's a decent beginner bike. Now my wife, her second bike, great bike. I wish we still had one, and in fact might consider getting another one in the future. Her second bike was an Indian Scout 60. 60 being the 60 cubic inch motor, the smaller of the two motors that Indian offered at the Scout at the time. It's 5-speed, like 78 horsepower. I can't remember the torque numbers on it, but it is a blast to ride. Light, nimble, and enough power to, you know, get yourself out of a situation, but also keep up with the pack if that's what you're trying to do. So that's a good beginner bike to look at. You know, there's tons of them out there. But those are just the a couple that I'm familiar with, I should say, that are definitely good beginner bikes.
All right, y'all. So at this point, both of my microphones stopped working. I was still rambling on about, you know, the best bikes for beginner riders. But more importantly, I was just excited to get out and ride, getting ready to link up with J-Mac 360 and his son, and yeah, it's making out to be a good day. So here you see J-Mac roll up on this Challenger. We all excited to get out on the bikes and lay down some miles. All right, so we're all geared up, everyone's fueled up, and now it's time to lay down some miles. Okay, so here we're crossing the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, a suspension bridge that leads from Tacoma to the Kitsap Peninsula. It always seems to be windy when you cross this bridge. If you get lucky, sometimes you can spot orcas down below. So this route that we're taking to Carbanado Saloon in Carbanado, Washington is really, really scenic. Tons of trees, tons of greenery, and you also got really good views of Mount Rainier. All right, so as we head out, see a couple other bikes and a hot rod parked outside. So it's definitely a nice spot to ride to. It's only about an hour and a half from the Kitsap Peninsula, so we'll definitely make the trip again. Nice place to grab a burger and a beer, which is exactly what we did. All right, so now we're making our way back to Kitsap County so I can pick up my wife, because she and I are going to go for a ride after she's off work. All right, so I scooped up the missus, then we grabbed us a beer at Downpour in Kingston, then headed to a spot near Suquamish, hoping to see some orcas.